Welcome to Words of Wisdom from Kick-Ass Women.
Stories and advice about moving forward, punching through that glass ceiling, pushing harder, and blazing trails from women we really admire. Hi, everyone. I am Mary Olivieri, and over here to my left is the OG kick-ass woman herself, Liz Brohan.
Hello, awesome co-host.
All right, let's play a game if we can. All
Love
right.
it.
Quickly, I want to ask, what comes to mind when you think of Eleanor Roosevelt?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. She absolutely redefined the role of a first lady. I mean, talk about somebody who rolled herself up and took a seat at the table. Just amazing. And then probably the first woman to ever become a spokesperson, both domestically and globally, for things like human advancement, social justice, certainly human rights. Just an amazing woman who was a game changer.
And you know what's interesting? Not only is that all too true, we are lucky enough to have a trailblazer like her here with us today.
Wow.
Please welcome Velinda Cox. She is the president and CEO and general commander of Sound Horizon LLC. And she is formerly the VP at Konica Minolta. Did I get that right,
Yes.
Velinda? And we're really excited to have her here because fellow women in business, she's going to tell you some great tips about how to kick ass and get yourself a seat at the table. So we're really happy to have Velinda, our Eleanor Roosevelt.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big shoe to fill. And I love her. Yeah, she wrote something, I think there was a quote, she wrote something about women who are successful, women who behave are never make history. That's what it was.
That's right.
And I thought to myself,
Well-behaved women never make history.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep.
And I thought that was amazing because it just shows that you can't just sit in the box and keep your mouth shut. You've got to do something and be different and
Right.
stand out.
Absolutely. And we feel like you fought for and won a seat at the table. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you were able to do that and what it took and what it might take somebody younger who's looking to do the same thing.
I mean, my story, of course, a 30-year career with a Japanese manufacturer. So back in the day when I started, it was primarily men. There was no women. Many times I'd walk into a room where there'd be 1,000 men and I was the only woman. So, early on, but quick hints for me where I would get to a meeting early.
Yep.
Always get there where I could check out what the room was and maybe make some friends with the first few people that are walking in. I always loved if I was going to a meeting, for example, to look at the emails and see if there was anyone I didn't know. And then I might call them in advance and introduce myself.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Or say, hey, I've never met you before. Like when we get to the meeting, I'd love to sit and chat with coffee on the break with you or something. So just made me feel more comfortable going into environments that were completely net new to have that advocate maybe.
Yeah, just to have somebody who you felt comfortable with in the room, because that can be a scary place, especially when you're just starting out.
Mary likes to get to meetings early too, but it's because she wants to make sure that she's not sitting with the back to her door.
Oh, that's because I'm Italian. I do not like having, a door behind me. I got to have my back so I can see everybody walk in. In fact, Velinda, I do go early as well. And I always, ever since I was in my 20s, I would go in and sit at the head of the table. Purposely. So there's a bit of advice. Just take your seat there and see what happens. I really firmly believe that. Let them know that you mean business. So
It's so funny though. In the Japanese culture, when you have a long table, the end seats aren't the primary, it's in the middle.
Interesting.
So, but once I knew that, I would always get there early, and you can't sit right in the middle because that's where your senior person sits, and your senior guest sits directly across from them.
Got you. Okay.
So but same purpose direction, but you want to be close to where the action and the power is.
Right.
That's one thing. Because you want to be able to add value. And if you're way away and you can't talk, or you're hidden somehow because the gentleman next to you is 6'5" and you're not, you don't even get seen. So I think important is positioning as well, physically positioning yourself.
Just physically positioning. Do you have, we're talking about conference rooms, right? So there's all kinds of things that happen in conference rooms for women. Do you have any stories that you'd like to share about anything that happened to you in a conference room and how you came out the other side as the victor? Because I think I remember you mentioning something.
Tell me the story you're talking about. Because the first thing that came to my mind was when I was very young and I came into a conference room. And as I was coming in, one of the executives asked me to go get the coffee because he thought I was the server in the room. And I was the senior for the guests that were coming. I was the senior.
Yeah.
And so it was just different. But what story was I telling you?
Somebody had said something. I think you were in a room full of men and something came up on the screen that, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think our listeners would love
conversation?
It is. This is kick-ass women and we're proving it.
Yeah,
so.
I was showing an Excel to a group of about 12 men and I was standing up presenting and the senior person at the table standing behind my shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't see it. So I asked the person who was operating the computer to make it larger. Can you please make it larger?
Yeah.
And the senior executive started making a joke about it. Mm-hmm. Started making like, oh, she wants you to make it larger. Make it larger. Come on, make it larger.
How did you get yourself out of that? Because that stuff still happens. I hate to say it, but it does. I mean, what did you do to rise above that?
Well, at that point, I was too young to what I would have done later, to have dressed it like straight on. Mm-hmm. I could tell even some of the men were uncomfortable at the table.
Yeah.
So I just politely ignored him and moved on because that's the best way I could handle it at the time.
What would you do
that's
now?
Extremely wise. Yeah. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I encountered as a very young woman in the business was I was actually told at the end of a conference call to shut up for 2 years and learn something before he wanted me to speak. And I thought, well, that's not going to work. So,
especially not for you.
Please. So one of the things that I did to kind of counter that was I was just always overly prepared for every meeting. I wanted to make sure I was coming with great information and probably even more importantly, really great questions so that I got the information that I needed to go do my job.
I think that's critical.
Point. Yeah.
Like preparation, I think that getting there early is part of preparation, but also like learning the information that you're going to be talking about so that you're prepared. And the other thing is thinking about what are those other topics that are outside of what the agenda is that might be influencing the outcomes. Thinking about how you can be more creative and add ideas in there as well, because people get on a straight line with their thinking, and it's that divergence that really where magic happens. So I don't know how you can be quiet and make magic happen.
I know.
Exactly right. I think, to your earlier point, what would also be so helpful is in your preparation, if you knew who else was going to be in that meeting, ask somebody a little bit about what are the other folks around the table like, So you get a little
grab
bit of...
hold of LinkedIn and see how they're positioning themselves. We're all brands at the end of the day. So how are they branding themselves?
I can do that on webcast, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to have a meeting. It's all digital. It's very impersonal. You're seeing ahead. So just profiling everybody that's on there. It's amazing what you find out and where you have connection points. And then all of a sudden it's a personal conversation versus just running through the agenda in a digital format that's not very personal as it is.
Exactly right. How do you feel like some of our younger listeners who might just still be in school, how can they apply some of what we just talked about, to helping them succeed and kind of gain traction in terms of a voice?
Well, I think all of what we said could be applied whether you're in school still or you're already in your business. One of the other things that I was thinking about is the relationships are so important. And I think when you're in school, sometimes you go to the professor or your aide and ask and start to having conversations, right? And that works. But in business, you also need to develop relationships, find coaches and mentors early on. I mean, I wish I had done that in my 20s.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
It took me a while to figure out, the leadership is interested in your success as well. And certain people will help steer your career for 20 or 30 years.
And sometimes you don't even know they're your mentor. It's just somebody that you gravitate towards and just has good advice or just, a down-to-earth personality that you can ask them anything.
Although I will say that we should caution our listeners to really know who that person might be.
Why,
there's a little
Mary?
story. Well, if you recall, we had an employee at an agency that Liz and I were at who was a junior account executive. So it's her first job out of college. She went up to the CEO of the company and asked her for her advice on how she might be able to start her own restaurant business in 5 years. And she is working at an agency. So what we heard was, this is not my career. I'm not really interested in doing what I'm doing. But hey, you're a CEO. Will you help me start my restaurant business?
Wow.
It was just ill-informed. Like, know your audience. She didn't last very long.
Really?
At the agency, surprise, surprise. And so, hey, if your intention is to find a good mentor, find somebody who has the skills that you're trying to emulate and create. But please don't ask your boss how to help them start a business in a completely other field than what you're working in. Just bad idea in general.
And find women and men mentors and coaches.
Good point.
You know, like it's so important because it's such different leadership perspectives, and you can find value in both and collaboration in both in different ways. I
Right.
think it's important.
What do you think the best help or advice you got from a mentor that has helped sustain you to this amazing place that you've arrived at?
A couple of mentors told me to slow down a little bit, which kind of falls back to, because I move very fast. I think very fast. And sometimes I would get ahead of my group, my team, my organization, because my mind is out there on the horizon.
Right.
So slow down a little bit, which also made me think about communication. What else do I need to do a little bit slower? What else do I need to put a little more thought and time in so that I could be more effective? So that was one. I think also the ability for you to lighten up once in a while, because I tend to be super serious and super driven.
I have the opposite problem.
You know, but to be able to like just be myself and be really authentic, I don't have to be super, super serious all the time.
Right.
You know, I can have a good time with what I'm doing. So
Yeah, I like that.
Absolutely. And I think when you talk about communication skills, we all talk about this one, active listening, but what do you think it means and how do you really become an active listener?
I think it's the difference between listening to talk and listening to understand. I think that's so important. And for young folks, if you're like me, you talk a lot. So you've got to really pause and think. But thinking about what the person's saying and asking yourself questions while that, like, okay, what does that mean? And thinking about, I understand that in a certain way. And you're going to ask a question as opposed to just tell something that's on your mind. Like,
Or wait your turn to speak, right? Which is what's happening.
It's not a cue, right? It's not a cue. You're waiting, pause, because you're not hearing then. You're not really hearing what's coming out there.
And I would say that big shout out to introverts. I am not one, in case anybody hasn't figured that out
No
yet.
kidding.
But I have mentored a lot of introverts. And one of the things that I really love about an introvert is they are very good at active listening. There's sometimes a great fear of actually speaking. So all of us extroverts can tear a page out of the introvert's book. So if you are sitting there and really actively listening, you will ultimately add value. And you may not feel like it, but you will, because you actually heard what somebody was saying. So that's another little piece I'd throw out there, right, in terms of active listening.
Yeah, and there's different forms of communication. So asking and receiving information in a written form in advance of meetings from your introverts or after, like writing to them and saying, hey, what'd you think of that meeting? Can you give me some feedback on it? Because they're more comfortable maybe in giving you a written response. So,
Right.
like being aware that you have a diverse group of people you're working with, whether you're working in a team or leading a team, you know, those you can't treat everyone the same because we're not.
Right.
We're all different.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And it's important for any young woman out there finding her way in the world. I want to ask Liz and Velinda this question. Like, how do you define what a kick-ass woman is? Because we're talking about different types of women, right, in the world. What to you are the qualifications of a kick-ass woman?
All right, Velinda, you kick it off.
I think a kick-ass woman is someone who has the ability to look at life with a mindset that all these obstacles are going to be maybe feel like stumbling blocks, but they're going to turn into stepping stones towards what I want to succeed. And that's not my phrase. It's a woman when I was in my 20s showed me that on her board, and she was 85. She was an insurance agent, and I was just, it stuck in my head.
I love that. Yeah.
And I've always thought that, you know, if you're going to be a kick-ass anything, that you've got to have the right mindset for it. And I think the other thing is you've got to have the fortitude and the persistence to go forward, right? You've got to be committed. You can't do things just like, let me just try this or let me, you've got to be all in. And that's another aspect.
I totally agree with all that. And I also think that a kick-ass woman has a lot of confidence. And it takes us a long time to build up confidence. So I honestly believe that there's a kick-ass woman in every single one of us. And if we could just start with knowing that we have value in the world, honor our own self-esteem, and just be ready to project your own confidence, that is half the battle.
I would totally agree with that. I'm going to yes and that because I love to. The other thing I think a kick-ass woman has is a sense of humor. And you have to, because when you're sitting in a room and somebody says, can you make that bigger? He. You've got to figure out a way to I use my sense of humor to deflect in situations like that. And it really does come in handy. Don't take yourself too seriously. Have a sense of humor. So that's another aspect of it. But I love the confidence piece. And you're right, it doesn't come easily. Can you guys think of any ways in which you found there was a situation that helped you to build your confidence? Like it's something that you walked away going, I feel more confident now. Personally, for me, it's like because I messed something up royally. Like I screwed something up so royally that I will never do that again. And I had confidence as a result of that. But anything else there?
I see that as like a lesson, right? So I have this thought direction that I always want to try new things. Like it hasn't been done. That doesn't mean it can't be done. Let me try it. If I fail, great. I learned something. And it's kind of
absolutely.
Yeah, that's the growth mindset. Like Carol Dweck, I think, is the one who writes a lot about growth mindset in education. But the risk, right? Take the risk. And when you fall flat on your face, well, then you've already, said hello to humiliation. So there's only one way but up.
Yeah, don't be afraid to try.
Yeah.
I think it's up to all of us to provide words of encouragement to our colleagues, to our neighbors, to, the folks we go to church with. A kind word or a few words of encouragement are what always kind of fed my confidence. And so let's all just make sure that we remember to support each other and be complimentary of anything you see that you thought was kick-ass, right?
It makes a difference. I mean, when you can walk in and be courageously supportive versus competitive,
that's important.
And that's a big difference. And I think whether you're a man or woman, competition is in business, right? Everybody wants to succeed and they want to get the next job and they want to get the big payroll, bump. Yeah. But being able to support, it's amazing how much support comes back to you. So I think that's a huge point.
I think so too.
Yeah, excellent. So what other advice would you have for any individual trying to kind of make it today? I always think about that imposter syndrome. And I think it's okay to have imposter syndrome. I think the whole fake it till you make it thing is great. You read all the time that you don't even need to have all the skills to actually apply for a great job. Have some of them and just go from there.
Trust me, because I'm actually a 16-year-old girl. Truly.
I think, I had a period in my career where I know I had like that imposter syndrome happening, where I felt less confident and I didn't believe in myself, although I'd had a lot of success prior to that. Sometimes you have a leader that may not treat you the way someone else has, and you start to feel a little different. I think it's really important, regardless of where we are in our careers, that we just remind ourselves of the good things that we've done. We can pull out your own resume and take a look and go, wow, I have accomplished some things. Pat yourself on the back once in a while and give yourself a break. Say it's okay to make mistakes, because as we were saying, that's where you learn. But it's really hard when you put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect all the time, because we're not. We're human.
Right. And you just made me think of something. One of the best exercises anybody can do is to describe their job to somebody who is not in their industry. Whenever I try to describe what it is I have done for my career as an executive creative director to somebody who's never had an agency life, I suddenly realize how much I know. And to me, it's just whatever. Of course, I know that, it's agency life, whatever. But when I describe it to a friend of mine who is, an actor, and that's what they do for a living, and I'm trying to explain to them what I do, I'm like, I didn't realize I knew all that stuff. So I think that that's a really great bit of advice, is to really look back at your own resume and go, wow, I did accomplish that. So, because sometimes you forget,
I started in the direct mail industry. And for years, I couldn't tell anybody. Nobody understood what that meant. So I just had to tell my mom I was in advertising.
Oh my gosh. I remember one of the first times I worked with Liz, she had told me, this is so funny. She had said, I think we need to put a Johnson box on that. And I'm like, a Johnson box, right? And so I'm like, what's a Johnson box? It sounds dirty. You know what I mean? A Johnson
It was
box?
not dirty.
I was
It was
dying.
a subhead in a box at the top of a letter.
At the top of a letter, but it was very direct mail, and that's where her roots were from. And I'm like Googling Johnson box, afraid of what might pop up on my
That's
screen.
hilarious.
So yes, Liz, you taught me about the Johnson box, and I've never looked back.
There you go.
But I mean, that's another thing too. I'm going to just draw that line there, is you learn from the people that you're around about things and I wasn't afraid to ask either. I would looked at her straight up and was like, what's a Johnson box? But you can ask people, like if you're afraid to ask a question in a group, right? Pull the person aside, right? That you feel will take least advantage of you for asking that question, and ask it, because people do take advantage of that in the corporate world.
Yeah, but you know what? More people are willing to help or want to help young people be successful.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to kind of raise your hand. Don't leave the meeting without going and saying thank you, or opening a conversation, or when can we get together for coffee? I have some more questions. So
I love the coffee angle too. Definitely do that. Everybody loves to get out of the office for a hot second, right? So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're right. I think probably just because we're a little older, I want to make sure that the women that are coming up, whether you're a Gen Z or a millennial or even a Gen X, I want to be there to help.
Yeah.
And I try to think all day long, how can I help set these women up for success?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of just goes back to supporting one another, and making sure that, we all can provide the kind of confidence that it takes to really be successful today.
Well, that's why we're here, right? I mean,
why we're here.
This whole podcast exists to let you know that you are not alone, that it's possible to become a kick-ass woman and to do things like Velinda as the VP at Konica Minolta. I mean, an international corporate businesswoman who's been incredibly successful. I mean, come on, we all start out as young folks fresh out of school trying to make our way. And you can do it. You can make it in the corporate world as a woman by surrounding yourself by other intelligent people, asking the right questions. I mean, don't be afraid. The world is your oyster. When Liz Brohan promoted me to president of her ad agency, it was the biggest joy of my life. I never thought that. And my dad had passed away, and I remember talking to my father, up in the heaven, because we're Italian, so he's in heaven, and just saying, look at this, Dad, I can't believe it, So you can come from humble beginnings. You just got to use your smarts and other kick-ass women, right?
Work hard,
Mm-hmm.
show up early, make friends and relationships, be bold, share your ideas. Create your creativity. Don't hide it, because it could be the difference in a company being successful or not.
Yeah. And don't let other people take credit for your ideas. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh, boy, that sounds like a whole different
It's a
episode
next
to me.
episode.
Hello. We want to thank you for being a guest. I thought you had some amazing words of wisdom. You are a kick-ass woman. We would all like to be more like you. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. And thank you for comparing me to Eleanor Roosevelt.
How about that?
That was awesome. Thank you.
And if we were Eleanor Roosevelt, she'd also want to thank our sponsors. So I would like to take a minute and just thank...
Way to transition, Liz. That was awesome.
How about it? I'd like to thank the Motion Agency. They are one of the premier advertising and communications firm in the country, and we so appreciate their sponsorship. They are also independently owned by a woman, and that is the third largest independently owned agency in Chicago. So way to go, Motion Agency. And then I also want to thank Embuzz. Embuzz is a business consulting firm. They specialize in strategy, content development, and change management. And it's wonderful to have them on board as a sponsor as well. So thank you all.
Yeah, until next time, watch us on YouTube. You can listen again by visiting our website, which is kick-ass-women, that's plural, women.com. Or you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio. And as I always say, or call my mother, another OG kick-ass woman. Ask her about it. She'll be really blunt.
Mary's mother watches us on YouTube.